I'm fine, thanks. Good.
Lots of questions on the table. I will say it here, nobody in Jamaica knows the energy sector as well as you do. And you have been there, done that. And now we are in a dilemma, Philip Palwell. The government said that they are lending JPS $150 million. JPS said that they need at least $350 million to complete the job. And we need energy. The country can't get back on its feet without the grid up and running fully. What are the drawbacks you are having?
Well, indeed, we're on the horns of a dilemma because you're correct. There's no way we can move towards full restoration of anything without full restoration of electricity. And the government has put themselves in a bind because the minister, in his usual bravado, and trying to capture popularity before the elections, wrote to the JPSCO, and they interpreted that letter to mean that their license would be cancelled. And that created some consternation. And so now that Hurricane Melissa has hit with the devastation, the company has been unable to find funding for the restoration work, which, as you rightly put it, is valued at about $350 million. The government has stepped in, even though I would have preferred a different course, because in providing $150 million US, and just to put it in context, that's 24 billion Jamaican dollars. That money is coming straight out of our budget. And based on even what the minister has said, that the company is unable to find a dollar on the international market. So I anticipate very soon another request is going to be made of the government to get to that 350 million US.
So am I hear you saying, tell me if I hearing you right, that the government going to have to find the whole 350 million?
There's no other way, based on what the minister himself has said, because the JPSCO cannot source a dollar towards this effort. So,
hold on, the minister, hold on. So we put up 150 million already. And we saw the minister get very hungry when the leader of opposition tried to find out how JPS going to get the next 200 million. And you are saying to us this morning that you don't think JPS can source a dollar. Therefore, It is we, the taxpayers of Jamaica, who foot the bill. That's what you're saying to us?
So that is 24 billion, plus another 30 billion. The JPSCO cannot find the money. And I just believe that the minister was being disingenuous in not putting the cards fully on the table. So by coming and giving you half the picture, without even explaining to the country what interest rate it is going to be lowered at.
Yeah.
He spoke about conversion to equity, and not a word about the current value of the shares of JPS or their assets. It is quite disingenuous. And he really does need to come clean. And I'm hoping that on Tuesday, when the Minister of Finance will finally speak, because this is now a month after the hurricane, and it is mind-boggling that a Minister of Finance has not yet addressed the country on the financial implications after this massive hurricane. So next week Tuesday, she's going to have to come forth to say something. That's when I believe we will understand the full picture. But as I'm saying, I'm predicting that the full amount of $350 million will have to come from the Jamaican taxpayers.
So, Philip Palwell, I have spoken to you here before on this platform. And you said to me and my listeners and viewers that 2027 is not no magic year. The government can call in JPS anytime, or could have called in JPS anytime, and have a discussion about the license and where they want to go. You also told me that at the PNP win the election, you would have called in JPS right away. So you were suggesting that the minister should have called in JPS a long time ago. Are you now saying that the government missed the ball and end up in a dilemma that we are now in the corner? And even though the permanent secretary is saying that is the people, is Jamaica of the angle?
Well, clearly Jamaica don't have the handle. By the way, I was quite clear about what I regarded in 2015 when I passed the new electricity law, and in 2016 when I issued the new license. I wasn't going to wait until 2025. The law that we now have, which was passed in 2015, required a full and comprehensive review after 5 years.
Yes.
And that should have happened in 2020.
So hold on.
Because at that time.
Hold on,
yeah.
Philip. Let's get it clear.
Yeah.
You're saying after the review that was done in 2016, the law says that a full review should have taken place in 2020.
That's correct.
And that did that happen or it didn't?
When I reminded the minister about it, he set up a committee, Joint Select Committee of the Parliament, and wasted 5 years of time. And even now, that review has not yet been completed. And my intention when I passed the law in 2015 was that by 2020, we would have been in a position to have a new regime for JPS and new provisions in a new law to take us forward. I wasn't going to wait until 2027. As I did with telecommunications, we were able to bring forward the date because I recognized very, very early that because of the change in technology, the change in the environment, we couldn't continue with this current JPS license.
But you are saying that you reminded the minister about this?
Yes, he didn't know. So after the election in 2020, I made a statement that the law, having been passed in 2015,
yes,
needed to be updated and reviewed.
Yes.
And I did indicate the context of it. We wasted a full term.
So did that committee of parliament ever met?
It did meet, but it met sporadically. There was a time when it didn't meet for like almost a year because the minister wanted time to review foolishness. Listen, there's no magic to what a new license must have in it, you know. I set that out to the minister in 2023, in 2024, and in this year's budget presentation that I did. I indicated what those terms must be. There can't be any new magical terms. And the minister continues to blame JPS solely for the high price of electricity. But the government is more than responsible for the high price of electricity because that is driven a lot more on policy and on taxation, right? So all that is happening is a shifting of the blame solely to JPS and really a reneging on the responsibility of the government.
So, Philip, there are things in the license that Darrell say the license can't renew under the same terms and conditions. You are also in agreement with that. What are some of these things that we would like to change?
All right, and these things were cited again from 2015. First of all, I don't believe we should be granting a 20-year license anymore.
Okay.
So whatever license is granted, it must be 10 years or less. I mean, I really would go down to even 5 years. The second thing is we have to whittle away on this monopoly on transmission and distribution.
Yes.
And if they don't want to concede that, I don't have a difficulty with the government re-owning the transmission and distribution network. I believe that just like a utility like public transportation, it ought to be subject to some of the benefits that government can provide, like subsidies.
Yeah.
Especially because you know that there's the high level of theft of electricity. So that is going to be a matter that I would be prepared if I were a government to take back. If not, you have to have a much more transparent way for competition to occur, such as to enable persons to do what we call net billing, to enable companies to attach to the grid and transport their own electricity to their other offices. We want to enable those companies that are in free zone operations to be able to generate and transmit to customers in the free zone. Listen, you can only have one grid, So when you speak about competition, you have to appreciate that what is meant is how you enable other players to access that same grid. And that's why I don't have a difficulty in one government body or similar enterprise owning the grid, separate apart from a JPS who would be involved in generation and other things. There are some other things too that I would put in a new license. I believe that there are some consumer protection provisions that need to go into a license.
Yes.
So that when high voltage cause your TV and your fridge to be destroyed, they don't come and tell you that, boy, you didn't read the fine print of the contract. They should be responsible because there is a standard for electricity in Jamaica, and it's not the consumer fault why you get high voltage and low voltage and surges and so on. And I believe that the consumer has consistently borne those risks and not the company. I believe that the company has not delivered well in terms of street lights. And there must be a far more rigorous system to ensure that when street lights are out, that they are repaired and put back in service. So I am saying to you, Saka, there's no magic to a new license. I can write that in a day.
So let me ask you this, Sir Paulwell. When all of this happened, if the government was in a position of readiness, what would stop the government from saying to JPS, even today, that these are the changes that we want to the license? If you agree to this, we will give you the 8 years so you can go and get the money. What would stop the government from doing that?
There's nothing to stop the government from doing that from 2020 until now. Nothing at all. The telecoms license was for 50 years. I called in the cable and wires and said to them, we can't live with this license. I didn't remind them that it was a license granted to them by the JLP government. I sat with them and we fashioned out. Yes, there was some fuss and fight. We all got to court, but I knew what the country needed. And I was adamant. And we got competition introduced in no time. If we still waited for cable and wireless license to run out, we'll still have a number of years to go. It's 2038 that license would have expired. 2038. So there's no magic to 2027.
So Sir Paulwell, the deal that Darrell is getting into with JPS is not the only possible deal that we could make, is it?
No. You didn't have to get into a bind now where the options are almost limited. What he should have done, and still can do it, is to say, come JPS, I'm prepared to renew a license, but it must be on these terms to ensure greater fairness, competition, and a better deal for the country. We can do that in a week. We don't have to be here talking about 27 and putting the company in an impossible situation.
Yes.
Once you have that sword hanging over the company's neck for the next 2 years, the company cannot do anything. So any capital expenditure, apart from restoration from Hurricane Melissa, any capital projects that the company would have to do, because it's a company that must be maintained, it must have updates of its technology. It cannot do anything until 2027. It is nonsense.
So you also mentioned that the government could have given them a sovereign, what's that? A sovereign agreement?
Yes, it could also say to them, listen, go out and borrow the money in your name. I will give you a sovereign guarantee.
Right,
which means that guarantee. I don't have to take the money out of the budget right now. I will put it as debt, and you can borrow it and put it on your book, and hopefully in a 2-year period, an agreement will be reached for you to maintain that as a debt. which the government will back. That to me is a far more plausible way than for. I don't think people realize we keep on talking about 150 million and 350 million. When you break it down into Jamaican dollars,
it's about $50 billion.
50 billion. Billion.
Close
and
to
that is
$60 billion.
Coming out of your budget. Out of your budget.
Where is that coming from? How are we going to find that? That's space in the consolidated fund, Mr. Paulwell. You're a parliamentarian.
Well, you can find it in a number of ways. You will have to raise taxes. You will have to take it out of general revenues.
Cut something.
The government itself will have to borrow on its own. So that is what we're faced with. So you're going to see the rise in debt to GDP again going up. You're going to see austerity being imposed because there's no way they can pass on all of that to the taxpayers. So we're in for a rough ride. And it's all because the government of Jamaica did not appreciate the need to have a negotiated license in place by now with all the terms that the government wants and to use the leverage that the government has rather than to be caught up in this bind now where the taxpayers, the consumers are going to have to bear the burden of this money loaned to the company.
Will there be an appeal by the opposition to the government that to change route and not go this route? Because, as you said, it looks like we're going to have to find the whole 350 million, which is about 60 billion Jamaican dollars.
You will see the attitude of the minister on Tuesday. This government is becoming so arrogant. And yes, they are the government. They just won an election. We can't get them to do what is right. But the country will pay the price. We will continue to articulate, and on Tuesday, you will see us again speaking out, and we'll put forward what I believe are better alternatives. But that's what we're there for.
You said to us a while ago that the changes that is needed to the GPS license, you could write it in a day.
Yeah, man, I can. Well,
can you bring it to the parliament on Tuesday and hand it to the minister and say, make these changes, and if JPS agree, give them the 8 year, because I think the minister said that one of the deal is that give them 8 years and IDB are one of them places they will lend them the money. Isn't that a better route to make them get the money than to take it out of our funds that we need to rebuild the country right now? We don't have to rebuild JPS.
And all I will do, I will take to Parliament on Tuesday my 2023 presentation that deals with the matter, my 2024 presentation that deals with the matter, and this year's presentation that deals with the matter. Now, yes, I will hand him copies again to say there's no rocket science in this thing here. There are certain options that you have for a new license, and anybody you sign an electric license with now, there are just a number of options that you have, and nothing more. And and it is written. It has been written by me from 2023, and I'm quite happy to share with him and the country once more.
Sir Paulwell, anything you want to add to us before we let you go? We know you have time constraints.
Yes. No. Well, this is a serious matter now. The minister says that the JPS will be able to fast forward the restoration of electricity to February if they got 350 million.
Right.
So if they don't get that, they only have half of that. If the balance is not forthcoming, then the country, those people in the West, will have to wait until April, May, or even June to get back electricity. That is unbearable. I cannot be tolerated.
One of the big things, though, Philip, is that what if, we put up this 150 million, and I'm asking a question that I know the answer to, but I want you to tell the people. And when we reach the end of December, JPS say, listen, me tell us at 350 more want, me now can deliver February. What happens?
The government will have to find it, and if it can't, darkness until it can be found.
I have a call on the line, Sir Paul. Well, I just want to take one question and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
Call up, morning, one question.
Hi, morning, good morning,
Obi,
Colin. How you doing? But there, man, but there. Let me say good morning to the man who is arguably the guru and energy, not just in Jamaica, but indeed in the Caribbean. Former Minister Philip Paulwell and a member of Parliament for East Kingston and Port Royal. Hi, Philip, how you doing, man?
Very good. I can barely hear you though. You have to shout out a little more.
All right, I crank him up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yes. Morning, Philip. How you doing? Philip,
I'm fine.
I am going to... Is he hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes. I am putting a question to you, Philip. And first of all, will you be bold on Tuesday in the House of Representatives and call for the Minister of Energy resignation? Because indeed, Colin, when we Philip, when we examine everything based on your utterance and so on, this has to do with competence. The present Minister of Energy is not competent. He is not up to the task. He is just full with bravado, arrogance, and so on, while the people of Jamaica suffer. You just mentioned, Colin, Philip, the conversation as to exactly how we could get out of this by going to the table and have proper discussion. What say you, Mr. Paul?
Well, I think it should require the minister or the prime minister to demand the resignation of the minister. When we in opposition call for it, it's almost a guarantee that it will never happen. But yes, I have no difficulty in saying the minister should resign over this matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. All right, Colin.
Thank you, Philip, for your time.
Bless you.
Yeah, man. All right, Obi, big up yourself. That was the Shadow Minister of Energy, Philip Paulwell.